But yeah, no, I am million money. Why?
In 2019, JoyNews investigated the underhand dealings of a cartel hoarding and trading premix fuel at exorbitant prices. The investigations further revealed how the operations of the cartel also created an artificial shortage of the commodity at the landing beaches along the coast of Ghana. The management of the premix supply and distribution is not only an issue of livelihood, but a political one that caught President Akufo-Addo's attention to make a firm promise of reforms and the introduction of new moves aimed at resolving the problems.
Given efficient distribution of premix fuel, we will continue to use the premix fuel tracking system and audit landing beaches measures which have ensured that since November there's been no report of premix diversion.
Despite the president's affirmation, the teething challenges lingered on. The regulations of the Premix Fuel Committee demanded that a fisherman get a maximum of 1 barrel of fuel per month. Even that quantity is for fishermen with large boats and canoes. The premix fuel is to be sold directly to the fishermen and not middlemen. But 3 years ago, JoyNews investigations revealed that there were many middlemen aggressively buying, hoarding and selling premix fuel.
Because you won't go far or landing beach no do. My one yafarfo. A big cry about electricity. Meaning big or child or classroom. Teacher. No what now about two. Premise no do. No turn my hand. In John one gas what band will be guarding DC. It be catch a band as a dama. Omo madra the monk of no fat no fence shaft far from Nakasana wow Haman.
These individuals have formed cartels that hoard the product and later sell to fishermen at exorbitant prices. Kobna Alakan is a young fisherman at Dutch Commander.
Connection function adna what can be what you mean where bit some second dinner ni eliminate and new tech right now. One drum you to me to buy 12 million. And see Abanama you get my head ne afro yeah how Otu na mpo di brain ya for na da oda ye chempo mo eji kokunu otu nu ancien connection fon so edne oto no wason wa ne woton adime bi a one drum ye tun be 5.3 no awon wason wa tuna me na ibi ni 12 million 11.5.
No one is checking these cartels. There are more fishermen in need of premix fuel. That is, the demand at the London beaches far exceeds supply. Secretary of the Premix Committee in Commander, Charles Williamson, agrees.
So whenever a tanker of fuel comes, people are starting struggling. You are struggling to get yours, others are struggling, and you can hear a lot of words about governance. And so. I mean, you can hear all these words coming out. Why? Because the fuel is not coming enough for the fisheries. The canoes are more than the fuel that we receive.
Okay.
We have about 4 outlets in Nigeria. But moreover, we feel very bitter problem.
This is the problem many fishermen face. One of the middlemen I found is Kofi Agau. He illegally sells several barrels of premix. He is not selling at the official price. Agau has not been appointed by the Premix Committee and is not supposed to have access to this quantity of fuel, but he does.
Thank 8 gallons. Okay. Yeah, everything. to, as in like metal back or thing. Like I said, on top to show 1 gallon. And you're 13.
About 100 meters away from where Agau operates is Mensa Obi. He is a middle-aged man and has been plying this trade for more than 5 years. I can count at least 10 barrels of premix fuel he has hoarded. Like Kofi Agau, Mensa Obi also sells the fuel at twice the original price.
But yeah, no, I am million money. Why? It's about 75 by 15.
Vice President Dr. Mahama Dubaumia 3 years ago promised to digitize the distribution of premix. Under this arrangement, no individual could buy premix without showing an ID card identifying him as a fisherman. This has only been piloted in the Greater Accra region. Today, the story is no different. At the Central, Western and Volta regions, unbridled hoarding by the cartel and politicization of the premix fuel distribution goes on unabated. It's even worse with a nationwide shortage of premix fuel.
But petrol na ko ma aw be fie na kwakoto no so be ko no asa de ko ofna to no woto ne mahen.
It is 2 p.m. and fishermen at Voja in the Volta region are drawing their nets from the sea. A sense of uncertainty rests on their faces. They are anxious about whether their chance and toil will bring a bumper catch today. A poor catch means they may not be able to pay for the cost of fishing nets, the canoe, and the premix fuel, the fuel they might have bought from middlemen. Kwame, as I decide to call this fisherman, is in his early 20s. He places a call to a middleman in a plow. He is disappointed by the scarcity of premix fuel at this London beach. Scarcity has made the product very expensive. Chief fisherman at Voja, Joshua Adboto, tells me it's become extremely difficult for fishermen to get premix to go fishing.
To get the fuel for the fisher fuel is very, very hard. And some people come, they talk, say their party member come and buy it and sell it for high prices for the fisher foods.
He says the fishing business will soon collapse if government does not introduce swift interventions. He already has a debt of 51,000 Ghana cedis.
If you go buy you go and buy the premix for high prices, and you go to the sea, you don't catch, and tomorrow too you go and buy it high prices, you don't catch. The business is collapsing.
This situation is no different at the Elmina London beach. Kofi Teria has been fishing here for many years. He is appalled by the distribution of premix fuel here. He says members of the Premix committee and a cartel have hijacked the sale and distribution of premix fuel. He said it's nearly impossible for a fisherman to buy premix fuel at a government-subsidized price.
Premix was what you brought for. Let's say, Felini, a big job was said, now I can call your premix in a jacob. Equa, one would not put you down what I'm on the one shadow. What's the Wubu committee first? Committee no, if you don't know one hammer, it's a Wubu committee no against war. Ni young cannot watch a man in your bino. In your be, I will fall in a job was an idea quite rama. I did charge about Benedino. In your be. Anyway, I'm a committee. The committee, no, I don't know about time you build in and chan. no so aboton no connection nti support you na kasa competition be ho a nti two bill be potro no ho a wona wo gina potro no ho woton no dem committee na wo bu mo ho no nhwan no wo de madam connection fo no wo boton man ha na afale fo.
The JoyNews investigative team decided to test these claims by the fishermen. We posed as chainsaw operators in desperate need of premix fuel. These middlemen buy the premix in barrels. They do not own fishing boats but get a regular supply of premix fuel. They sold a gallon for 150 Ghana cedis. Under the government subsidized program, a gallon of premix should cost 60 Ghana cedis.
I am 1 gallon water now. I am 1 gallon water now. I am never to go more. I cost 2 bottles so no one at the so maybe I'll do some. Okay. I did call you. Tell on my way to so I pay 170. 170. 70. About you. But you remember, you don't remember. Also, half on mine. Half on also won't half mine. The one is what time? Half. The coffer oil, a hand and half. Premix, the coffer oil, the pine beer. In a half. Moses, when you have. The coffer oil near the pin. We are by a bush name half. Mobile, also up the half, chimney. The frat oil near the pin beer. Chimney. Chimney fish on your pepe. What's your cabinet? A friend said, you have to have 750 now.
The premix fuel is usually blue in color. This is to differentiate it from diesel or petrol to dissuade people from diverting it. However, the JoyNews investigative team found out that the premix fuel sold to fishermen at Elmina and other landing beaches is colorless, sparking concerns of possible diversion. With the gallons of premix bought by the middlemen, the investigative team heads to Yamransa in the central region, where the premix fuel cartel operates. We meet Richard Wood, a premix smuggler. He offers to buy our premix fuel. He says they purchase the diverted premix fuel in large quantities, hoard it and resell to the fishermen when it is scarce. At this London beach, the investigative team spots a fuel tanker filled with premix fuel. Richard and his counterparts tell us there are routes created to facilitate the diversion of premix to their base.
Yeah. 50 years we 15 because we say almost the landing beach. You go over in say load no oba okomo mpano funa skaka ko auto load no wa okay then edumami by the no we the oil nana on high price
okay
no ko do it na yi nan kase the price in sheda high
okay
so oba the man say ni skapa da nya bi
no okay
ko do it nya bi da
okay
what then obi pa to buy $10 onyi ha ma by no business or business obi keep on turn down obi keep no how is in of full struggle sometimes on by have petrol o go for because when you we bi price all ton mo no ko do
okay
you my you better you pesca for salon my 1000
for draw
Vanessa na musuma fa oh yeah confinement but market na fa say everything I'm not no we are make it so I dey ahende no say ye benwa ka dem 1500 dem 1000 dem hen can you propose ko this am share to them obi no boto yes side I ko so boto no moto no fa ke no so boto no
oh okay
This is not the only burden weighing down the fisher folks. is the politicization of the Premix Committee and the hijacking of the Premix distribution by persons perceived to be affiliated with the governing party. A former member of the Premix Committee at the Volta landing beach, Moses Inchuga, confirms this claim.
It happened. I remember one Mr. Is a government appointee, I can say. Sometimes when a fuel come here, he used to come here to monitor. But before he realized, he placed order that I'm so and so. They will give him 30 yellow containers, sometimes 40. He will not take it away that time. He will keep it with someone in the community. After the one we receive finish, he will start selling his to we the fishermen at a high price of 120 cedis.
The administrator of the National Premix Secretariat, Nana Asari, says laws frown on the politicization of the Premix Committee. He says the Secretariat will probe into the claims.
There are laws governing these landing beaches. You can sell for 2 terms and renewable just 1 term only. These are basic laws that have been passed by Parliament. Nobody has the right to circumvent what is written in white and black. So recently, the National Premix Committee has embarked on what we call recomposition or reconstituting most of these landing beaches. And you should go and see the level of work and the diligent work that they are doing. They want to make sure that you have the right people on the committee. If you're not a fisherman, if you're not a canoe owner, you don't have the right to represent canoe owners. If you're not a fishmonger, you don't have the right to represent, fishmongers. So it's something that the committee is adhering to the latter. And anybody who has a challenge with it can always test it in the law court. A lot of times we leave things to chance. If you have a problem with a landing beach, if you're a chief fisherman and you realize you are not a member of the landing beach committee, you have a right to ask questions. So we should learn to ask questions. We should learn to interrogate the system. People just don't sit anywhere and just assume that it is politicized. It can be politicized.
But contrary to this claim, Kweku Wisdom, a member of the current Premix Committee in Volta, says he was appointed to the committee based on his affiliation with the governing New Patriotic Party. He has been a lotto forecaster for the past 3 decades. He has been appointed a net owner on the committee, but he doesn't own a fishing net. He says this position was a reward to him for his service to the electoral fortunes of the party.
Oh, I'm the time I'm holding, I've been fishing with my uncle.
Oh, okay. But now you don't fish?
No, I'm not going because of my health.
Okay. So it means you don't own net, do you?
No.
What would be your contribution on the committee, given the fact that you are not an active player in the industry?
Probably I have to talk them the way they will manage and they will receiving the premise. Because we are the old member for MPP, but how we are not getting anything from them. That's why this MNC put me there.
Okay, so it's like a reward for your service to the party.
Yeah.
He further added that the government plans to digitize the distribution of premix, which will flash out the activities of middlemen who are exploiting the system. He provided an update on where the automation of premix distribution is.
As I speak to you now, we've gone back to cabinet. Last year we had cabinet approval, but we had to go back to cabinet again with another proposal. I must say that government has approved that proposal again. We've gone to PPA now. We have PPA approval. So now we have to form a tendering committee to look at the proposals of these companies that are proposing to do this automation system for us. So the minister or the ministry led by Honorable Mavis Hawakumsin is pursuing this agenda rigorously. You realize that the minister is always on her toes talking about this automation. So it's something that she wants to make sure it happens. And God willing, this year we'll see some pilots across the country. And I think it will really bring some of these incidences that we are having to the barest minimum. That is what we are hoping for. So I must say that we are on track.
Ghana's fishing industry is on the brink. Depleting fish stock as a result of illegal fishing is killing the sector. This has implications for food security and the livelihoods of thousands of fishermen. The situation with the management of the Premix fuel worsens the problem. However, the promises made 3 years ago have not fully materialized. The middlemen have taken over the distribution of Premix fuel. Only time will tell whether the digitization of distribution of Premix fuel will solve this difficult problem.